Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AEW All-In Prediction Show here on the Backbreaker Video Network. I am the host of the AEW Sidecast, Mike the Ref. If you guys want to join us, we have a lovely time hanging out with everybody here on our Sidecast every Dynamite Collision, and we're going to have one for All-In on Saturday, both on Twitch at twitch.tv/Mike the Ref, as well as on Backbreaker Video here, youtube.com/Backbreaker Video. We're going to go run down the card right now. As it is announced, it is currently 10:45 Eastern on Thursday night. We just wrapped up Collision, and we got a hell of a card lined up here. So let's give our thoughts and predictions as we're going through it. You can see the card over to my left here. And that way. There we go. And before we get to the main card with the 8 matches that have been announced so far, let's go to the pre-show, the 0 hour, and talk about these matches that are going to be coming up here. Match that got announced earlier tonight was FTR taking on the Outrunners once again. Now, the last time these two met, last week on Collision, we ended up with FTR getting the victory over the Outrunners, but that match essentially put the Outrunners in a position from going from jokes into serious contenders once again. It seemed like everybody had written off the Outrunners ever since they got demolished by the Hurt Syndicate. But now people are starting to realize that everybody's getting demolished by the Hurt Syndicate. That match with FTR was absolutely awesome. I do think the Outrunners do get their revenge in this match. And I do think they get the victory over FTR in a very good match, a very high-intensity match, maybe not so necessarily a high-flying match, but definitely a match that you're going to want to check out. And then the other match that's been announced so far for the 0 hour, you have the Don Callis family of Rocky Romero, Lance Archer, Trent Beretta, and Hechicero going to be taking on the team of Kyle O'Reilly, Tomohiro Ishii, Hologram, and Big Justice AJ. Which I got a feeling this is gonna be your comedy match of the night. There's gonna be a lot of high spots. There's gonna be a lot of insanity. There's gonna be a lot of crazy stuff going in. But I don't think Big Justice is gonna lose this one. I think the faces do win this one in the end. But I do feel that this will be a very fun match to watch and very well could be the match that closes out 0 hour going into the main card. I do feel that there is going to be another match that's going to be announced for the card before Saturday comes in. Because you also got to remember, we have Supercard of Honor coming up Friday. So out of that, there might be some fallout. I think there is going to be a little bit of fallout, but we'll get to that in just a moment here. But I do feel there's going to be one more match added to the card. Stay tuned for the 0 hour, and honestly, check out the AEW X account because they do a great job of advertising this stuff. But let's get to the main card, and it's actually funny. Like, we only have 8 matches on this card. 5 of them are for titles. And I feel that maybe this other match here might be the most important of it all when it gets to the long and the short of it, for some storytelling coming up in the future. And I do think this match might open the card, to be honest. And it's the EVP status versus challenging for the title with the Founding Fathers, Nick and Matthew Jackson, the Young Bucks, taking on the team of Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. Now, really, you could go either way here with Ospreay and Swerve winning and the EVPs just coming in and doing... They're on a limited contract already, so it makes sense to have them have sporadic appearances regardless. They have been putting in more appearances lately because it is getting closer to the biggest show in the year. But in my opinion, I do feel that Will Ospreay eats the pin here and the Bucks defeat Ospreay and Swerve. And the fact that Swerve does not get a chance to go for the world title for 1 calendar year because of Will Ospreay, that sets up a whole new feud in itself. which a feud that might not necessarily develop tonight, but it might develop as we go on in the future here, even as soon as All Out in Toronto. I think there's a way that you could set it up, and it also plays into what possibly could happen later on in the night. And this is why I think this match will open, and I do think it'll go this way. And then from there, you got two matches here that really are very unpredictable. There isn't a lot you can bring into these in terms of overall thoughts about the match itself, because the Casino Battle Royals are literally going to be a mishmash of anybody and everybody. I can give you some thoughts about who I think might be possibly involved in the matches, and I will give you a prediction for a winner here. You know, you got Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne coming in at 1 and 2. I honestly feel you're going to get, in terms of surprises, I think Britt Baker does show up here. I think all the scuttlebutt about her being gone from AEW, even if it's just a one-time thing, I think it's more to quiet down the resonance that's going on. You'd have a Baker appearance there. There's also a possibility of Elena Black. I know that's a one that a lot of people are talking about. Isla Dawn has been somebody that's been quite often in our chats brought up. That would actually be one of those two would be a very smart pick, or even both of them. Because think of putting an Elena Black with a Julia Hart and a Sky Blue. I think that would be an awesome trio together. And the fact that they might be looking at getting women's tag titles to go with singles titles, having that little faction put together, there's always a possibility of stuff like that. Just like having the possibility of Shotzi Blackheart showing up, even with her busted hand. A battle royal type scenario is exactly where you put people like that. That way they can protect themselves quite a bit. And if you're smart about it, you're not going to get anybody injured there. Maki Ito has announced that she is in town. I believe she's there for the GCW show on Friday, which is going to feature Shotzi and Matt Cardona. That's why I bring up the Shotzi as well. But I got a feeling at the end of this, and it's going to be based on the fact that Athena is going to lose the Ring of Honor Women's Championship to Thunder Rosa in the, I'm going to say the main event. No, it'll be the main event because of the title change at Supercard of Honor on the day before, on the Friday. She loses it there. Athena wins the Casino Gauntlet here to get her a shot of whether it's going to be Toni Storm or Mercedes Moné. There is a lot of history with both of them. So it's an easy fit to put in there. So, and it leaves people guessing quite a bit as to the main event. Because if the winner of this is automatically the next contender or gets a championship opportunity against whoever the champion is, you want somebody who can have a little bit of beef with both people in here. So I think Athena would be a very strong pick for it and a way to make an impact on the women's roster immediately. But then you look at the men's Casino Gauntlet, and there's a lot of storylines going through there. My personal pick for a surprise for this would be Keith Lee. He is from Texas. He is talking about being healthy. Nobody's really, like, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people have mentioned him, and they've been mentioning more, and I hope that he's healthy. I hope that he's happy. And yes, he is right now, for the most part, from what he's shown us. But is he healthy enough and is he happy enough that he wants to get back in the ring? He's still under contract, apparently, so you can imagine what the pop would be if Keith Lee shows up there in Texas. And very well, there could be an opportunity for him to be the winner. I think if you go for a long shot of a surprise, Monty frickin' Brown, the king of the pounds, thanks to Willow bringing that back up, and Keith Lee's been known to use it as well. He is in Dallas for a very rare signing as part of StarCast. Just having him in a match like that where he can do his spot, do a pounce on somebody, and just leave it at that. Get him ransacked by MJF or something and just knock him out of the match. Just where he can't get pinned or something or whichever. I do think you get the return of the Bang Bang Gang in this. Austin and Colton Gunn. Definitely Juice Robinson, if not all three. But I think your winner for this is going to be a returning Jay White. I think Jay White is in a lot better shape than a lot of people think he is. And I think he would be a very smart choice to be in that position. Much like Athena in the women's gauntlet, I think Jay White has a lot of history both with Moxley and with Hangman Page. Remember, Hangman has never beaten Jay White in any scenario right now. And it has to be eating Hangman alive. And you tell me Jay White versus Hangman Page in Toronto wouldn't be a fun show? I think it'd be absolutely great, personally. So, but let's start moving on to the title matches here on the card. We got the TNT title match with Kyle Fletcher and Adam Cole. Now, Adam Cole coming back from injury, winning that title off Garcia. He has essentially rebuilt his life, rebuilt his career, gotten himself back into ultimate shape. He's looking great right now. He's sounding great. All the momentum in the world. This night is about Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher being anointed the next big star. The TNT Championship, while it has held some great names like Cody Rhodes, Brody Lee, Adam Cole once as well, names that have been already through it, it's also been there for the Sammy Guevaras, the Scorpio Skies, the Daniel Garcias, guys that they're trying to push into that upper level. I think it's time you give that title to Kyle Fletcher and let him run with it a little bit. Because Kyle Fletcher is the future of AEW. He is part of that next group. Once you starting to get the retirements of some of the older wrestlers, Kyle Fletcher is definitely one of those guys that you can use to move yourself into that next level and get things carry on. I think Saturday is going to be Kyle Fletcher's crowning achievement day. Then from there, let's get to the tag title match, which I thought a week ago from now, I thought this was going to be a walkthrough for the Hurt Syndicate again. So far, they've been walking through literally everybody. But Jet Speed has come out and tried to do a certain style here where they say they absolutely will not back down from anything that the Hurt Syndicate does. And they got the absolute crap kicked out of them on Wednesday. Last Wednesday. This Wednesday, they come out and attack the Hurt Syndicate sort of in a, the thing between faces and heels has been blurred a little bit when it comes to AEW in general. And this is no different because Jet Speed attacked the Hurt Syndicate from behind. And then now you got the Patriarchy just sneaking their way into this match while it's sort of a backdoor favor between Christian Cage and MVP. And now the Patriarchy is going to be involved, and I think it's going to be a major effect on this match. Now that the Hurt Syndicate has been proven that they can be beaten down by two teams in a no disqualification scenario, I personally feel here that Nick Wayne gets pinned by Kevin Knight. More likely Kevin Knight. It could be Speedball Bailey, but either way, Jet Speed walks out with the titles. It's going to be a slip-up possibly by MJF. I don't know if MJF actually gets involved in this because of the Casino Ladder match. Or the Casino Gauntlet, sorry, my apologies. But when it comes to the Patriarchy, I think this is the point where we're going to start moving away from Christian Cage being a part of Nick Wayne's group. I think there's a way where you make Nick Wayne heel here. Nick Wayne turns on Christian, not Christian turning on Nick Wayne. I think you're going to get a little bit of that snap from Nick Wayne, which is going to force Christian. Essentially, Christian can be the heel going up to All Out Toronto. I think you get Nick Wayne versus Christian in Toronto for All Out. But remember, it's Toronto. Christian could tell them that they all kill babies in Toronto, and the fans in Toronto would still cheer him on. I think Toronto's where you do the switch, and I think Toronto's where you're going to get the return of Adam Copeland to team up with Christian Cage to move things forward here in their little final storyline here going forward. So, getting back to Jet Speed looked really strong during the Collision 8-man tag tonight, involving the Patriarchy, involving FTR, and involving the Outrunners. And I think Jet Speed will be your next champions. Whether they keep it for long, I don't know. Because the Hurt Syndicate could end up getting a rematch and just finishing off that way. Or they could be starting to look to branch out to get the singles titles that they probably want to look at. Either way, Jet Speed comes out with the titles here. Hey everybody, Future Mike here. I missed a match, so I want to make sure I get it in here because I do feel it is going to be a humdinger of a match here. You got Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Gabe Kidd of the Death Riders taking on the Ops for the AEW Trios Championships. Now, this match here was scheduled to be Pac in that third spot where Gabe Kidd is, but unfortunately he's still not in condition to go. I don't think there's any way here right now, and I think this might actually play into our main event here with the fact that Claudio won't be around after, maybe due to an injury, maybe due to a runoff, maybe due to something. But I do feel that the Ops are going to retain, and I do feel that Claudio might get injured during the match, kayfabe-wise. Not for real, just thinking that, there might be a possibility he gets injured and taken out, and that's how you can bring in Eddie Kingston during the main event, which you will hear about in just a moment. And it sort of ties a little bow on some stuff here. So my prediction, we're going to get the Ops over the Death Riders for the AEW Trios titles. Now let's take you over to the 3 main events of the card. Now, basically, we end up with a triple main event here. It's as much as people want to say there's one match that tops all, there are 3 different title matches for 3 different reasons that people want to see it. Now, for your nostalgia buffs, for people that know the history of wrestling, for people that think New Japan had one of the greatest feuds that has ever been created, we have the unified title match of International Champion Kenny Omega and Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada. These two have put on some of the greatest matches you have ever seen across the world in the history of wrestling. You could say whatever you want about the Meltzer scale. I don't really care. You cannot deny that most of their matches, in terms of telling a story, telling a tale between the two, have been some of the best ever. And I'll say some of the best ever because there's always open to interpretation. And this match, I don't think will be any different. You're going to get all the story beats. You're going to get the finale of Callis getting his due here. You're going to have Okada throwing out all the stops. You can show Okada showing a level of desperation here because he's taking on Omega, his arch rival, for one last time. And it creeps in a little bit of doubt. Can he do it? And that's essentially why I hired Don Callis here. In the end, I do think Kenny Omega does win this and wins this unified title. Most of the stories that are coming across right now say that the unified title is going to be essentially another title, another main title. Like you're going to have the AEW World title on one show while you'll have the unified title on the other. And I think that is a very smart move to do right now. Just like I hate to go back and forth between WWE and AEW, but having that World Heavyweight title and also the WWE title is actually smart with the fact that you can actually have 2 title programs separated and talk about different ways of doing them. So I think Omega is your very first champion of the unified title. And he could be the champion going into possibly the The C2, sorry, I almost said G1. No, but the C2. And I think the C2 will line you up for a title match for the unified title. It very well could be that the C2 sets up a title match between either one. And it would make a lot of sense because you have people from both sides of the card, which I do feel that there is going to be a bit of a brand. I think we've already gotten a bit of a soft brand split. I think it's going to be a little bit more defined as we go forward. It may not be imposed. It might not be straight out said, but I think there's going to be a tendency even more now, even more extremely, where you're going to have two different brands having two different sets of rosters between Collision and Dynamite. The way they've been doing it's been working so far. They just need to go a little bit further here. I think Omega keeps the championship up to a C2, or if he has to defend it in the C2, I think the title changes hands just before. Because I think Omega is one of those that can work. He can work maybe a match every month, match every 3 weeks, somewhere in there. I think he really wants to tag with Ibushi for more than anything else. And I think there's a lot of people in line, maybe even a Swerve Strickland or a Will Ospreay, who could take that United title and run with it for a while. But I digress on that. Let's move on to the second main event, which I think in many ways this is a dream match. This is why I say this is a different type of main event, where it is a dream match between Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm for the Women's World title. It's a match that we haven't seen with both of these people in this character, in this momentum, in this position that they are in. Moné has got, well, at the time she has 6 titles. She might have 8 by the time the pay-per-view starts. And Toni Storm, many will say that she has been the face of AEW for the last 3 years. And there's a very good case behind it. And I do feel that that is one of the most pressing things as they go along here. Now, the story coming out of this could be very interesting. With, if Moné wins, she has every title, and now she's got to face the pressure of defending all the titles. Or you get Toni Storm to win. You can have her cemented. Like, right now, she is the women's face of AEW. Is she in that legendary status? I think Mariah May brought her very close to it. But a win over Mercedes Moné at the biggest show of the year, it could start a mental breakdown in Mercedes. It could also start a trilogy. It could start like a rematch you can get in Toronto. And don't discount the winner of the Women's Casino Gauntlet, who it's going to be in here. That's why I say Athena's a very good pick, because she can literally go with both these ladies. She has the history of Moné, but she also has that what if with Toni, because we've had that what if here pretty much since Athena's been setting up that dramatic run in ROH. Now, in terms of a prediction, I'm going to go away from what most people are thinking. And the consensus right now is Moné winning. I'm going to go with Storm cementing her legacy. Toni Storm is going to cement her legacy as the most dominant woman in AEW history. She very well could lose the title next month at All Out in a rematch with Moné or a match with Athena or something in there. But I think this show in Texas is going to be the crowning achievement for Toni Storm, which she should have gotten regardless. If Mariah May hadn't left and scheduled to leave when she did, this match here would have been the Hollywood ending, and this would have been the main event of the show. I think the result is the same as it was going to be there, with Toni Storm winning and carrying on as champion. I think Mercedes starts to break down, starts to get desperate. There is a very good possibility she could go all the titles versus your one title as a conviction to get the extra title match. And that's how you can book it for the... There's a million different ways you can book a rematch because everybody's going to want to see that match again because we know how good it's going to be. But I do think Toni Storm retains in this matchup. And then we got our main event. And this one, folks, buckle up. The reason I call this the third different kind of main event, this, through all the loops, all the crevices, all the winding roads, all the dirty highways, all the gravel roads, all the mountains you climb, all the depths you deep, if that's even a sentence. This story of Hangman Adam Page is the best told story in AEW, period. Over the long term, the Hangman Page going through his highs, even through his first title win, moving into his lows, and everything that happened with his family, the feud with Swerve, the start of the redemption arc after he took out Christopher Daniels, and now just learning this promo that he did on Collision, talking about how he regretted what he did because he knew that it was wrong what he did, and he knew what Swerve did. Swerve knew that he was wrong for what he did. To me, this is the redemption arc that you've always wanted. Now, Moxley, contrary to what a lot of people have said and all the griping that they've had about the run with the Death Riders, I honestly feel that Moxley has done the best with a bad situation on so many levels here. Because Moxley has had to deal with, I personally believe it's been a short turnaround for the title, because Danielson, I feel, that title run was basically shoehorned in when Danielson found out he couldn't wrestle anymore. And they tried to stick some opponents in there with Mox that would make sense going forward. While the Cope-Mox feud, to people that were watching the show, ended up being a little lackluster in the ring, it brought eyes to the product. Like, I don't like to bring up Meltzer a whole lot here because I just said to heck with his scale. But he was right in one very simple fact about this feud with Mox and Cope. It brought more eyes to the product than any other match on that card, including the Hollywood ending. Moxley's name has been worth it. He's been carrying the title. He's been a constant source of fixing that AEW title whenever it's needed to be fixed. Whether it's Danielson, whether it was CM Punk twice, whenever they needed to hit that emergency button, Moxley was there to fill that gap. His promos have been getting better for this situation. I really didn't feel he needed the promo on last night to talk about the rebuttal of the Hangman Swerve chat in the locker room. But be as it may, this one here will get absolutely crazy. It's very smart to put it as a Texas death match because you know you're going to get run-ins. My personal feeling, you're going to get the Bucks running in. You're going to get Ospreay, of course. You're going to get Swerve is going to be the big one here, and I'll get to that in just a moment. I think you get Eddie Kingston out here and a big return pop for Eddie Kingston. But instantly, I feel that he lines up. You know, as Claudio hasn't been around lately with the Death Riders, right? You put Eddie Kingston with John Moxley. And he helps Moxley in this situation. Whether it be attacking one of the ops that comes out and helps. But I think to counter Kingston, you get another pop with Darby Allin. If you're going to overbook this, you're going to overbook it big time. And I don't know if he brings out a full flamethrower. I don't know if he brings out one of those bazookas. I literally think somebody's dying in this match, possibly. So then you get Darby out there. You got Kingston out there for the save after the ops come out. You got Kingston saving for Moxley. You got Darby going after Kingston. You got the Bucks coming in. You got Ospreay coming in. You get Swerve and Ospreay getting rid of the Bucks. Ospreay takes off. And you got Swerve standing there with this chain. The chain that he got tonight from Paige in that locker room. The one that he left behind. He takes a look at Mox. He takes a look at Paige. He realizes for trying to help, he got screwed for a year out of the title. But in the end, Swerve does what he feels is right to make up for what he did to Adam Page's kid, the stalking of the night, and takes his worst moment as a human and as a wrestler and gives Adam Page the greatest moment of his life by nailing Moxley with the chain, knocking him out, and giving the win to Hangman Adam Page, your new AEW Men's World Champion. And we end the show with Page and his family in the ring and Swerve looking back on the ring apron. No expression. Just quiet silence. Knowing that he's going to have to wait a year to go get that championship. And it's going to lead to one of two possible stories going into All In 2026. Well, there you go, folks. There's my predictions for All In 2026. Now, just a reminder, we are going to be here on Twitch and YouTube. Twitch.tv/MikeTheRef, as well as YouTube.com/BackbreakerVideo. We're going to be here for our sidecast. You can come in here and tell me exactly how wrong I am. You can tell me how right I am. You can come give me glory for all the picks I made during the Casino Battle Royal or the Casino Gauntlet. Having everybody come out. You can cheer, you can boo, join in. Just join us. It's going to be a ton of fun. We always have great conversations in this sidecast, and it's a very positive atmosphere, which I appreciate more than anything else. But that's going to wrap it up here for the AEW All-In Predictions show. Once again, thank you everybody for stopping by. And always remember, be part of the solution. And we'll see you all here next time on the Backbreaker Video YouTube channel. Take care, everybody.